grades, Miss Coleman-Taylor here. I am here on behalf of English Lit 9 to answer some of the questions I've been getting. It's kind of been the same questions over and over, and as you know, when I get the same questions, I like to make sure that I have clarified. And I also figured it probably can't hurt for you guys to see this face and have a bit of normalcy. But I don't want you to see the face too well, so I've made it nice and small in the corner of the screen, you know what I mean. So I have two different sets of things that I'm going to talk about, and you can watch all of it, and you can watch none of it, and you can watch part of it. I don't care. Live your life. I don't care. So, frequently asked questions. You can see them on my screen, because this is how technology works now, I guess. When are we coming back? Y'all, I don't know. Governor Kemp, go Glads, says that it won't be at the earliest until the end of April. I don't know. Until time machines exist, I cannot give you an answer to that, but I can tell you we should just let tomorrow worry about itself. And we will know about the days to come in the days to come. And as we find out more, we can move forward with what we know. But until then, I can't give you a definitive answer, and I'm sorry about that. I've had a lot of questions about the EOC. It is postponed, not canceled. However, they have not rescheduled it because we don't have any idea when the world will be safe. So they have not rescheduled the EOC at this time. I don't know if that means that you guys will not have to take it, or if you won't have to take it until next year, or if we're going to have to stay extra. I don't know. Let tomorrow worry about itself. Will we have finals? Probably. What you're going to see most of is that you will have finals that are in the form of projects. In some of the core classes, the ones that had the EOCs, we were mandated to take those EOCs and put them in the gradebook as 20%. They have not told us what our gradebook will look like at the end of the year, so I really don't know whether they're going to give us the chance to do a final test or a project or something like that to replace the EOC. I don't know. UPAs, let's say no. They have not given me a definitive yes, you still need to worry about this, or no, you don't need to worry about this. I think UPAs have kind of been forgotten in the whole thing, so just let them be forgotten, you know what I mean? I see formative grades, but what about summative grades? We're not doing summatives for now. They said that may change, but as of right now, you should only see formatives going in the grade book, not summatives. Yes, you can go back and do the work for the past 2 weeks. If you haven't done it yet, it is still open. You can still turn it in. In Google Classroom, the work is designated by week, so you should be able to go in and see exactly what work is expected for the entire week. So just go back and do the work you didn't do before. Or, next question, if you did do the work and you did not like your grade, can you redo it? Yeah, sure. Some of you need to redo it. Very much so. So, if you send me an email and say, Miss E.T., I want to retry those 2 common lits, or Miss E.T., I did my social distancing journal late, will you grade it now? I will obviously be like, yeah, totally. Okay. Old grades from past semesters. Can I use this time to fix those? Yeah. I would love for you to use this time to do anything that will improve your grade. So if you have an old summative that maybe you never did that social justice soundtrack, go do it. You got nothing but time on your hands. Go do it now, and then send me an email that says, Miss E.T., I just turned in my soundtrack, and I'll grade it. I don't care. It's kind of a free-for-all at this point. When will teachers start marking work as missing? 5 days after the due date. So for you guys, that means that the work that was due last Friday is due Wednesday of this week. I'm posting this video on a Wednesday. So that means that today I will be able to go into the gradebook and start posting things as missing if you have not done the work for the last 2 weeks. So please get that turned in soon, because those missings automatically default as a 0, and ain't nobody got time for that. Okay. Is there any extra credit work I can be doing? Honey, first things first. Don't worry about extra credit until you do the original credit. If you have already done the original credit and all of your final things or your grades from the past are all good to go, then we can talk about extra. But there's not a ton of people who need extra credit who have done everything up until this point. So, like, do original credit before you come asking me about extra credit. No. Can we keep working on the social distancing journals? So we did the social distancing journals. The rest of Lit 9 did not do them. I have been reading them. I've read all of them, and a lot of you guys contributed to those journals in ways that were really important, and it showed me that those journals were giving a lot of people a space to talk about how they were experiencing this and how they were feeling in ways that was making a difference for them. So, short answer is yes, I will be bringing them back. This week, currently, we needed to talk about a new standard, so I wasn't able to do the social distancing journals this week because it didn't technically fit. I couldn't replace learning about argumentative techniques with talking about your feelings, because the two are not the same. But once we get further into this argumentative unit and we start doing more with it in terms of actually writing things out, I'm going to do everything I can to get the social distancing journals factored back into the equation so that if that option worked for you, then you can continue building in that document. You can continue building in it anyway, but very few of you do work without knowing that there's a reward attached to it. So, which is a perfect segue, as a matter of fact. In those journals, a lot of the same feelings were brought up by a lot of people who seem to be feeling as though they were alone. And a lot of us, all of us, are feeling very lonely right now, but you are not alone in feeling lonely. And I think that we need to offer you guys a place digitally where you can actually voice what it is that you're experiencing and see other students do the same so that you don't feel so alone, because you're seeing your classmates and you're feeling what they're feeling, and you're seeing that they are having the same experiences. They also feel alone. They also feel anxious. They're also taking care of siblings. They also are worried about losing resources. And then we can also talk about things that are uplifting so that we don't all have to stay in this very worried, anxious place. So keep an eye out for that. It will be coming soon. It's probably going to be some sort of optional video opportunity so that you can see each other's faces, because the thing that I read the most is that you guys miss seeing other people, and I think that there's something to be said for my little face right over here on this screen right now. Is I don't know, I mean, there's nothing all that special about my face, but there's something about the feeling of isolation and seeing other people. So keep an eye out for that. It'll be coming soon. So I started looking at the persuasive techniques practice with the commercials. I've started looking at the results of that. There were no names associated with it, so I have no idea who's doing the test and who's doing well on it, who's cruising through it. But I do know which areas people are having the most trouble. So I'm going to give you a brief little rephrasing for some of these terms so that you can potentially have other examples or just see it a different way. So, fear-mongering is when the advertiser is trying to make persuade you to do something or buy something because you are scared of what might happen if you don't do or buy. So if you are very into social media, you've probably seen some of the posts that are like, if you don't repost this in the next 20 minutes, you're gonna die in 5 days. Like, that was very intense during my time on social media. And MySpace, back when the dinosaurs roamed the earth, there was a thing called MySpace. And people would be like, if you don't repost this, then you're going to have bad luck for 7 years or something. And so they would be trying to persuade you to perpetuate that chain out of fear of some other eventuality. Campaign commercials are the same thing. And then, oh my God, when I was in high school or middle school, there was this Dare commercial, drivers against something against drugs. I don't know. And it was this man who had done like chewing tobacco down here his whole life. And they had to remove his entire lower jaw. And so he was like out on a baseball field for some reason. I don't know. And he was just like talking about how difficult his life was without his jaw. And that was a fear mongering in order to try and get you not to do the chewing tobacco. Glittering generality is when you say words that don't mean a lot or that give those positive connotations, like he's a patriot, he's a leader, he's a hard worker, and all of those words give a positive vibe, but they don't really tell you what they're working hard to accomplish. Like, Hitler was a hard worker, but not in ways that ended up being positive, okay? The name calling is Trump, who is out in very evident ways trying to use terminology that creates sort of a villain of his opponent. A lot of politicians do this. He is not by any means the only one who uses this tactic, but he uses it in ways that sort of villainize the people that he's trying to separate and say these are the bad guys. So calling anybody who was immigrating over the Mexican border, and he said they're rapists coming into our country, and it was just kind of definitely creating that name-calling aspect of identifying those people in a really negative way. Card stacking is when you are trying to advertise for food that you really want children to buy, and so you say that it's yummy and it's delicious, but you don't tell us that it's yummy and it's delicious because it's pure sugar. You're not telling both sides of the story. You're only saying it's yummy, it's delicious, you're going to enjoy it because you're going to get diabetes over here. It's just one side of the story. Appeal to authority is that app, Masterclass. It's when you say 9 out of 10 dentists would recommend this toothbrush, or when you have an expert on the news who is there because they bring authority because they know more about this topic. Appeal to authority and testimonial are easy to get confused. Appeal to authority is when somebody knows more about this topic than you do. Testimonial is when it's a famous person who is just saying, I like this product, you should like it too. Emotional appeal is those ASPCA commercials where they show you a dog living in a dumpster so that you'll donate money. Irony is sarcasm. It's that commercial where old people say, young people don't vote, in order to try and get us to go vote out of, the sarcasm of that moment. Rhetorical questions are questions that don't need answers, like the Geico commercials. Testimonial we talked about. Bandwagon is when your mom says, would you jump off the Brooklyn Bridge if all your friends were doing it? Hyperbole is this is your brain on heroin commercials. Go look that up on YouTube. And then repetition is head-on commercial. Go look that up on YouTube too. Repetition in order to hammer something into your brain so that you'll be thinking about it all day. All right, so email me your questions. Let me know. Keep an eye out for other things in the future, other opportunities. Do the work. Wash your hands. Stay inside. I don't know. That's all. I miss you. I really do.